Basker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around, we're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at him.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh,
and
my
to the
goodness.
line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, where tonight, Breaking Bad GT3 takes on one of the most iconic venues in all of motorsport. This may be the road course, but the weight of Indianapolis and its bricks are still everywhere. From the long front straight to the heavy braking zone to the technical infield sections. This circuit demands precision, discipline, and absolute commitment from every driver in the field. For these GT3 machines, the challenge is all about balance. Drivers have to be aggressive under braking, clean through the chicanes, and patient on corner exit if they want to protect the rear tires and maximize speed down the straights. At a place like this, small mistakes don't stay small for long. The stage is historic, the field is ready, and the pressure is on. This is the Breaking Bad GT3 League at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it's time to go racing, folks. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Appreciate you all for being here. Then thank you very much to our title sponsor for tonight. It's going to be Maxim Motor Sports. For all your engine building, tuning, dyno services, and on-track support, or even if you need driver coaching, check out Maxim for all of your needs. And tonight's sponsor, and specifically, is going to be Cotterman Racing Team. And we wish we could talk to Jed, but he's not going to be here with us tonight, unfortunately. Taking a look at the championship points, it's Carl Ross for the Masters leading with 914 points. Kyle Smith in second place. João Baptista in third. Javier Sierra in fourth. Corey Jones, Clancy Garvin, Cole Malley, David Bush, Wade Morris, Jeffrey Davis round out your top 10s. And joining with me in the broadcast booth tonight is going to be none other than Mr. James Watson, who's going to lead us through the pros.
Yes, sir. The pro points leader is Jed Cotterman, who is, in fact, not here, like you said. Second place is LaShawn Young-Dilworth, with Kyle Dersham, John Voight, and Jack Clark rounding out the top 5, with Dennis Crosby, Jamie MacArthur, Keone Maduro, Roberto Perez, and TJ Yankee rounding out the top 10 in the pros.
Over there to the Pro-Ams, it's Oliver Brooks, then Francois Perot, Nicholas Paul, Toby Brooks, lock in top 4. Owen Huffington in 5th, Rafael Rodriguez, Jesse Chase in 7th, Chet Miller in 8th, Nicholas Iwano in 9th, and James Clark round out our top 10. And now for the track details. Of course, this is the Indianapolis Grand Prix, the road course from 2008 to 2013. 13 corners in total, located in Speedway, Indiana. Yes, that is actually the name of the town. Opened back in 1909 but the road course layout was only introduced in 2014. As I said, 13 corners in total, 4 to the left, 9 to the right, running clockwise, opposite to the Indy 500 oval direction, actually. This incorporates part of the oval section, including the front straight and portions of turn 1 and 2, with up to 9 degrees of banking on parts of the lap. And now, James, I know you're new to the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 League, but what are you most excited for coming into an event or coming into a night like this where you're involved in another form of racing, a different type of multi-class racing from what I remember?
Yep. They did the season in the ASRL series, which was multi-class, but a much different type of multi-class, with it being the ancient Corvette Daytona prototype with the GT3s. But I have broadcasted quite a few GT3 leagues over the years, so it's not anything I'm too unfamiliar with, thankfully. And I gotta say, the thing I'm looking forward to the most about tonight's race is turn 1, because turn 1 here at the Indy Road Course always tends to be one heck of a viewing spot, for better or worse. Usually worse. As we saw demonstrated earlier today in real life. So that's definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on and see how everyone gets through and seeing if everyone can survive. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot noteworthy. I've never been the biggest fan of this layout personally. There's definitely better places, but I think it's a really good racing track. There are a lot of good braking zones, a lot of fantastic overtaking opportunities, not just going into turn 1, but going down the Holman straight down into turn 7. That's a fantastic braking zone, and gives you an opportunity to send that lunge in, going on to the chicane right there in the short chute of the oval turn 1 and turn 2. That's another phenomenal braking zone. And the draft is really going to play a key factor in tonight's race with the long straightaways we have on this track. So as long as you can continue to stay connected, it's going to be easy to keep yourself in a possibility to make a pass. But that is the key, because why there aren't a whole lot of too super difficult corners looking at the layout itself, it's very easy to make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, coming out of that oval 1 and 2 chicane leading back onto the front straightaway, or if you make a mistake on the sweeper there in 3 getting onto the Holman straight, you'll cost yourself a lot of time. And you know as well as I do, when you make that mistake leading into a long straightaway, it just hammers more speed loss. You're just losing extra time because that speed that you're not able to carry down the straightaway. So you really got to make sure you nail those apexes a lot more than you think.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I can't argue with you about any of those points. And a couple of them that I heard were really about the braking performance and how huge it is to be part of the story here for the drivers, because the lap is defined by these multiple heavy stopping zones. Like you indicated, we have a heavy braking zone going in towards turn 1, turn 8. I mean, a lot of these technical sections follow up with a little straightaway and then a heavy braking zone right after that. So you're absolutely right. Getting one of those braking zones wrong will lead to not only getting that sector wrong, but getting that whole lap wrong. And in a field like this that is stacked with drivers who are capable of showcasing their skills time and time again, I mean, you lose one position, you might as well throw in the towel, because you're going to lose 3 or 4, because The hungry pack of wolves are going to be right there waiting for a smell, a drop of blood in the water before they pounce. And then, especially at a track like Indy, if you get caught up in the chicanes, it's just going to throw you off of your rhythm continuously, James.
Absolutely. And you said it. Any little time loss, that's going to be huge because look at the field spread. P1 to P11 is less than a second. 9/10. That is a ridiculously close field. You don't see that often. So any little mistake and you are going to lose so many positions. And with an hour-long race, it seems long, but I can assure you, and you know as well as I do, that an hour goes by real quick in the car.
It sure will. And with that being said, let's take a look at the results for the qualifying. Here are the results for the Masters category. It was Corey Jones, Javier Sierra, Carl Ross, Clancy Garvin, and then Kyle Smith. And for the Pro-Ams, to James.
Yes, sir. The pole sitter for the GT3 Pros is Jamie MacArthur with LaShawn Young, Dilworth, and James Clark in the top three, with Mark Stewart, Philip Kelly rounding out the top five. Kyle Dersham, Dennis Crosby, Jack Clark, and Keone Maduro rounding out the field for the pros.
And now for the Pro-Ams, Oliver Brooks took the pole position there, just by 46 thousandths of a second in front of Nicholas Paul. And Frank Perot is 3/10 back from there. Kobe Brooks, Jeffrey Strong, Jesse Chase, Marshall Darden for Kachow Racing, James Gilpin, Jason Holland, and Ryan Thompson round out the top 10.
And as you see, everyone making their way onto the grid here.
Speaking of, let's take a look at our grid, shall we? On the first row, apologies. On the first row, it'll be Corey Jones and Javi Sierra. On the second row, it'll be Carl Ross and Clancy Garvin. On the third row, it'll be Jamie MacArthur and LaShawn Young Dilworth. Row number 4, James Clark and Mark Stewart. Row number 5 for Oliver Brooks and Philip Kelly for the top 10, and James for the next 10.
On row 6, we have the 64 of Nicholas Paul next to the 55 of Kyle Smith. Row 7 will feature the 999 of Frank Perot and the 93 of Kyle Dersham. Kobe Brooks in the 333 and next to Dennis Crosby in the 22 on row 8. Row 9 features the 97 of Jack Clark and the 17 of Jeffrey Strong. Jesse Chase in the 323 and the 12 of Marshall Darden rounding out the top 20 and take it away with the next 10, or final 4 I should say rather.
James Gilpin and Jason Holland. Row 11, row 12 for Ryan Thompson, who's in a beautiful Makita livery, and Keone Maduro starting from the back of the pack. That's a surprise location for him to be in. Definitely doesn't usually start from the back, but we'll have to see what he can do to shake up the order tonight. Getting ready to race, but of course, it's none other than Corey Jones on the pole position to lead us here for the Lights Out GT3 Weekend Showdown.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going back to Maduro. He only made his way into the session with about a handful of minutes left in qualifying. So he didn't really have the time to get a lap in at all. So it's curious to see how he's going to do with the level of practice compared to everyone else has pretty much had the entirety of the 40-minute practice session to at least kind of get attuned to what the car is going to do and how this track is going to behave here. But I'm familiar with Keone myself, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a mammoth charge through the field here and at least get up into the top 10.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. He's no slouch in any machine we throw at him, and he can definitely climb the ranks tonight. The number 88 is down, but he's definitely not out at this point in time. As we get ready for the pace car to pull in, let's hear your predictions. Who's going to make it to the top of the charts, and who's going to come out best of the rest or end up into the barriers here at Indy? I have a feeling like I know who's going to be kissing the bricks tonight, but I don't want to jinx him or give him the commentator's curse, James Watson, so we'll let that one sleeping dog lie.
It's never stopped me before. Alright, but you see they're getting ready to make their way to the green flag.
Corey Jones, Javi Sierra, Carl Ross, Jamie MacArthur line the first two rows, and we're ready to go racing, and Barney waves the green flag, and it's green here for Breaking Bad GT3, and we're gonna go 3, 4, 5 abreast, coming down the front straight down into James's favorite corner, turn one. Who's gonna make it out on top clean and green, and who's gonna become the fool tonight? No one, because this is Breaking Bad GT3, and these guys are well equipped to go wheel-to-wheel racing.
Breaking Bad, but breaking good. I'm amazed that we made it through, especially since there were 4 wide at times going into turn 1, but we all survive it somehow. Incredible, as you see Sierra already looking racy, looking to the inside of Jones for the lead. Oh, big set from Mark Stewart there, a little further back. Has to tuck back in, not quite able to get the move done on Kyle Smith. Kyle is holding strong for now. See, they're side by side, couple of Mustangs doing battle. Frank Burrow down to the inside. Kobe Brooks fighting him on the outside. He's gonna hold on for now.
Absolutely excellent battling on the battlegrounds here with the bricks. And if you didn't know, there are actually still bricks underneath the asphalt here at Indianapolis. About 12 feet below ground, there are still bricks here from the historic 1909 racetrack, if you can believe that.
Yeah, they actually took a core sample here a couple years ago. They actually drilled down and pulled out the whole kind of bedrock, and you could see the different layers in asphalt and brick just stacked upon each other through all the decades. And let me tell you, it's the coolest thing. Like, if there's one thing that really pushes home the history of this place, it's looking at that and seeing how long it's been around and the transformation that it's gone through over the century plus of racing while still basically staying the same.
That's very true, and something that I didn't know until watching a documentary about this amazing facility is that when drivers mention the likes of Monza and its staple in history as a racetrack, they have to say the names Indianapolis right after it. As here comes Javi Sierra under attack from Carl Ross behind. He's trying to find a way through, definitely not around his American brethren, because we've got a long-legged Lamborghini behind who's trying to challenge these two Corvettes.
and he's going to get the pass done around the outside, similar to what Lundgaard was able to do this afternoon. What a battle from Carl Ross, and now Sierra's going to lose the spot again to that Lambo of Jamie MacArthur. Just a rough couple of corners there for Javi, but fantastic racecraft from Carl Ross. And honestly, I thought he was in trouble a little bit, because you saw when he made the initial dive down into turn 1, he clobbered that curb. And let me tell you, that curb, not nice. And anything you go over it, you feel that in your bones, even if you're not actually feeling it in your bones. So I was afraid that at the very least was just going to be a little too upset for him to really kind of get settled and get the power down. But he brushed it off like it was nothing and was able to get the pass done in just a couple corners, really.
We were talking about Keon Maduro. Well, here he is, duking it out with Dennis Crosby and James Clark. He's right up ahead for the trio of American muscle machinery at the Indy Motor Speedway, the IMS. Dennis Crosby started in 16th. He's gained 2 on the good so far, but unbelievably, look at Maduro's gained in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. That is just a number as absurd going into the first 6 minutes of this race. It is 11 positions gained on the good on the evening. And more positions to be gained, I'm sure, for the man dressed in black.
Yeah, going for the first challenge here, and it at this point, with how much ground he's made up in 5 minutes of race time, it's looking like he has a chance to pull that off, especially since, you know, Corey Jones, he's holding a good pace, but not really pulling away too much from those closing in on him. It's just about a 2-second lead now. But you know, the key thing is he's out of draft range, which is huge at a track like Indianapolis with all these straightaways like I was talking about at the top of the show.
It is important to keep a battle buddy with you, such as the battles up here. Clancy Garvin staying within striking distance of Carl Ross as he was able to get around Javier Sierra, the 979 driver. Javier Sierra.
Oh, we got a car around in turn 1. Jason Holland is it's like James Gilpin. His Mercedes is facing the wrong way in turn 1.
Get a replay here. What happened to James Gilpin then?
I think it might have been something with Jason Holland. Oh, that was a late send from the 132.
A little bit late indeed, to say the least, and looks like he tried to go off in avoidance at turn 1, but unfortunately did clip Holland there, the number 21.
Yeah, you hope for Holland's sake he doesn't have a whole lot of damage after that little meeting of the minds right there as we're on board with Garvin's Lambo trying to track down Carl Ross. Basically just a little 4-car battle here with these two, and Sierra and Jamie MacArthur in the Porsche right there behind.
Now, I might be biased, but I want to do a little sound check with you. All right, James, we're going to listen to a few different cars on boards, and we're going to grade them on a scale of 1 to 10. Starting with the Lamborghini. A respectable 7, let's say.
I'd agree with that.
All right, all right. Now let's look at Javier Sierra, driving behind the Lamborghini and ready to attack. You know, this isn't as satisfying of a sound. I'd give it a 6 out of 10, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not quite what you'd expect to hear from a Corvette. I think you even though it's not necessarily considered American muscle compared to, say, the Mustang, you expect something a little more throatier, even though it is more of a traditional performance car.
Speaking of American muscle and performance cars, let's look at a pair of Mustangs, and this is actually the car I wanted to look at next, and boy, oh boy, does this thing sound like a beast. 10. Yes, 10 out of 10. I'm glad we're in agreement on that one, as Maduro has caught up to Frank Perot, trying to scare him into a mistake going down and towards turn 1, but he wasn't able to do so. The 999 looks locked in as ever, even though Maduro threatens from behind.
And I say that 10 out of 10, only lightly biased as a Ford man. Just slightly.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if we had a Honda other than the NSX, I would be I'd be a Honda man, but unfortunately we don't have that.
In, yo.
Here we go, the run from Maduro through the snake section, but Perot just locked it in at the apex and boxed in Maduro. The 88 had nowhere to go as that apex was completely occupied. Late on the brakes goes Maduro. Holy Toledo, does he make it? There's a random car spun out in the background. That's LaShawn Young Dilworth, and using the yellow flag to his advantage, Maduro is through. Wowza!
That could have been deadly for a lot of parties. That is heartbreaking, though, for LaShawn Dilworth, because as we talked about with Cotterman being not here, it's a massive opportunity for him to make up some ground in the Pro Championship chase. He needs the best finish he can. And now he's had to fall all the way back to this 24-car field. And we talked about it. Any sort of mistake is magnified in a field this big and this close. And now he has to make his own last deferred challenge here. That is working out fantastically if you're Jed Cotterman.
Let's see what happened to the 888 if he was pushed. Oh gosh, well, I thought he may have jumped all on his own, but there's the battling trio right behind, including Kobe Brooks. And like you said, LaShawn Young Dilworth has a mountain to climb from P last all the way up. Now here's the technically gifted badged machine of Oliver Brooks, currently running in 14th position, duking it out with Marshall Darden, pilot of the number 12. Oliver Brooks, unfortunately, down 5 positions tonight, down into P14, but he's not out of the conversation yet. I mean, look at what Maduro's been able to pull off in just about a quarter of this race thus far.
Yeah, and counting, because he's already almost within a second of the next car in front of him, which would be another Mustang of Kyle Dersham here.
Dersham just right ahead in the orange and black Mustang, let's call it. And trying to chase down another car, another mountain to climb. Another battle is brewing, as actually Dersham looks like he is catching up to Kyle Smith. And Kyle Smith is not in their category, or in their class, I should say. And so I wonder if he'll secede that position in order to unleash Kyle Dersham here into some real pace. Otherwise, we all know the saying, traffic giveth, traffic taketh away.
And when it comes to multi-class racing, you know, you can't not lose time in traffic, but you can lose less time in traffic depending on what you do and how you deal with it. And yeah, obviously it's not a traditional multi-class race with everyone being in equal machinery essentially, but you still do kind of have to have a similar mindset. And if you're battling someone that really isn't going to give you any direct benefit. There's just no sense in costing them more time, and more importantly, costing yourself more time. Is here comes Sierra. He is all over the back of Garvin. He's been reeling him back in slowly but surely these last few laps.
Take a look at those lap times as well. Yeah, Sierra has been chipping away. Good keen eye there, James.
Yeah, and Javi's gonna make this pass quickly because Ross is starting to gap them. He's got himself about a second of breathing room here.
You can see the gap there between Ross, Clancy Garvin, and Javi Sierra. And the interval between Corey Jones and Carl Ross has stayed somewhat stagnant, I would say. Ever since he got unleashed, it's been stagnant right around 3.4 seconds. As there goes Javi Sierra with just a glancing blow at Clancy Garvin, potentially trying to spook him into a mistake. Check his rearview mirrors at the very least. Put in some work, right?
Yeah. And you know, Corey Jones, it's been interesting because it feels like he hasn't really been gaining time, and then all of a sudden, bam. Like, I swear, it was just like a lap or so ago that I looked up and it was like, oh, it's still only at 2.8. And then I look again, I'm like, whoa, where'd this extra 7/10 come from? How did it get to 3.6? So it just seems like he has a couple of consistent laps and then just drops a heater and just drags that gap out even more.
Well, you're not wrong. Look at the lap times there. On lap 7, he was able to match Corey Jones by 53 or 50 thousandths, excuse me, and then 54 thousandths on lap 9. But yeah, on lap 10, he was a half second back, and then on lap 8, he lost 0.3 to Jones up ahead.
Yeah, these last few laps have been near perfection for Corey Jones, just on cruise control right now as we get past about the quarter mark of the race so far. Just over 44 minutes remaining in this one as Garvin continues to keep Javi at bay.
But how long can these two keep up this battle? Because I have a feeling like Javi Sierra has something up his sleeve, potentially conserving a little bit of fuel as we go look for a switchback here.
He's showing his hand now. Look at the run he's going to get through the chicane. Garvin is going as defensive as he can, but he can't hold him off. Here comes the send from Sierra. Oh, I think Garvin might have caught the grass. He goes wide, but he's going to hold it on the track and hold Sierra off. Man, just when I thought he was in trouble, he holds strong as almost contact between the two. I don't know if Javi gave him a little shot in the shorts right there or what, but boy, that got close.
This is exactly what the crowd pays to see, James. I mean, close, tight-knit action on a Saturday evening. And speaking of close, tight-knit action, here's your man, Keon Maduro, shaking things up with Kyle Dersham now. No longer as it settled. The bout between the 88 and the 93 is done and dusted, as Maduro is back up into 9th place, solidifying his place in the top 10. He's got a long way to go up to the next pro driver. Let's see what he can do, especially with Kyle Dersham trying to challenge back for P4 in the category.
Yeah, he tried, but just couldn't keep on the outside. Had to send it a little too hard just to maintain that equal gap to Maduro and just couldn't hold on. So now Maduro sets off. He's about at the step of the podium for the pros, sitting P4 in class. So you see Perot, he's got company, Kobe Brooks. Oh, Kobe! Just couldn't keep the nose of that Porsche there.
trying is Kobe Brooks. The 333 or 333 is trying his best to attack that 999 up ahead. But right now, they are separated by just about nothing, as I thought Brooks was going to go into the back of Kyle Dersham, but barely able to avoid it. And behind, Dennis Crosby and Oliver Brooks are both waiting for a mistake from the boys up ahead. I don't think we'll see any. I mean, if we were able to go 4 wide on that race start, I have a feeling like we can do just about anything here with the Breaking Bad GT3 crowd.
Yeah, you can say that again. Everyone continuing to show some very impressive racecraft here.
Now we are expecting to see the drivers come down pit road for a planned pit stop, and that's why I mentioned earlier that Javi Sierra could potentially be in a fuel conservation mode. I mean, just thinking about it, he could be fuel saving behind Clancy Garvin and then just leapfrog him in the pit stop, right, James?
Yeah, not only that, like, despite all of their battling, Carl Ross has not left them at all. He's still only a handful of tenths in front of them, so depending on what Javi has been able to pull off here, he could potentially jump his way up to P2 in the pit stops like nothing. And, you know, it just makes too much sense. You know, that's the thing about fuel strats, is that there is no easier way to make a pass on someone than doing it on pit road. And it's especially true when you have drivers like this, because you saw Javi work so hard to try to get by Garvin earlier and just couldn't get it done. So it's like, well, can't do it here, do it in pit road. But he's still gonna try to do it here, I think. He's just still showing them that he is still, in fact, in his rearview mirror.
Checking in with a few other drivers, we'll check in with Jason Holland right now. And Holland started in 22nd place, currently running in 19th. And it looks like his car has managed to stay roughly clean for the most part, as we can see Jason Holland's setup here behind what looks like Jesse Chase in the 323 up ahead. And I don't mean to be critical, James, but I'm a guy that drives with minimal data. That's a whole lot of data going on right there, isn't it? And at what point is too much for a driver and getting distracted? I get distracted very easily, and it seems like Holland probably uses some of that information to his advantage in an endurance race like this with an expected pit stop. You know, we see the track map up there. We see some Delta information up there. What other type of information do you think you can gather that'll really help you ascertain what's going on in the race?
Well, I think it boils down to the fact of personal preference. You know, every driver is different. You know, you tend to prefer a little more minimal data, as you just said. Me, I am the opposite. I got a whole lot of neurodivergent goodness up here. So the more information I have, the more calm I am. Like, I get distracted when I don't know what's going on and I don't have an idea. So the more information I have at my disposal, is you see a big move from Holland there, getting the move done. And he's gonna clear. That was a heck of a pass on Jesse Chase right there, getting by the Peppa Pig car. But yeah, I like a lot more information, so a setup like that would work great for me. You know, being able to see anything and everything and know exactly what's going on, and to answer whatever question might be popping up in my head of, okay, who's doing who, what's their pace, could they be fuel saving, if I pit now, where will I come out? I'll be right there. Okay, maybe should wait a lap or so. You know, things of that nature. It really just depends on how you like to roll overall when it comes to your stream of information.
That's very true. I mean, I was lucky this morning during the Michelin Pilot Challenge where I had someone spotting for me who was using iOverlay, thank goodness, and was able to call out all the information that I needed on pit stop strategies, fuel, TCRs that were obviously faster than me because I'm a poor driver in GT4 category. Definitely not as equipped as these gentlemen are. We definitely don't blame the BOP to the GT4s, do we, James Watson?
No, heavens not. Certainly not. Never done that once in my life.
It's just a talent thing, I will admit. Clancy Garvin chasing down Carl Ross.
We got our first pit stop. Frank Perot bringing it down.
Frank Perot and Kyle Smith by the looks of it. And pit lane's going to start getting a little bit busier as time has just been flying by. 24 minutes and 40 seconds already under our belts. And we start to look forward to the last 35. Here comes the Peppa Pig under attack from Nicholas Paul, but Paul backs out. Don't want anything to do with that Pepper Spicy Pig.
Yeah, just he doing a solid job here in P17. Keeping the car all nice and clean and keeping it out of the muddy puddles, even though Peppa sure does love to jump in those muddy puddles.
You know too much about this pig, sir. We're gonna have to have the FBI check out your computer. I don't know what's going on at that house of yours. Carl Ross still chasing down Corey Jones, but it seems to have checked out by a bit. I mean, what do you make of this as Corey Jones seemingly is walking away with it? I know you're new to the Breaking Bad GT3 crowd, but you're no slouch in your own right to these caliber of drivers. As you well know, the ARL was stacked with amazing talent. But I mean, the Breaking Bad GT3 are all talented drivers at this caliber, and Corey Jones almost makes it look easy out there. What do you make of that, James?
He really does. It's wild to see someone be able to drive away to a 5-second gap, especially with how even everything looked in qualifying. You know, only had 2/10 over Javi Sierra in qualifying, as we got a battle between Kobe Brooks and Dersham here. Whoa. Dersham was able to get the pass done on Brooks going into turn 1. Or, excuse me, that's Dennis Crosby that Kobe is battling with. My apologies. Yeah, Kobe tried fighting back at the end of the Holman straight, just couldn't quite get to the inside, but he is not letting Dennis run away with this at all. As we see someone else in pit row, it's Maduro.
Now, what do you make of this strategy? Splitting the race down the middle, nearly 50-50 split. I mean, that leaves your options open for just about anything, right? So, advantages and disadvantages there, James?
I think a big advantage is the clean air that he's going to get. You know, he was kind of mired back in traffic. I think this is going to give him an opportunity to try to run them down and get some sort of pace advantage over the cars around him while they're still kind of battling amongst each other. And yeah, he's going to lose the draft, but I believe what he'll gain from that clean track is going to be worth a lot more than any draft advantage.
Taking a look here at the Mach 5. James Clark currently piloting it.
I love this.
I had a feeling like you would, James.
That Speed Racer from 2008 is my favorite movie to this day, so seeing that warms my heart, and he's doing it justice here, running a solid P12. See MacArthur, he's on pit lane now.
So LaShawn Young Dilworth, the AAA, has made up a little bit of ground, but only on those that have come down pit lane. I think the real gains or dividends won't be paid out until after the pit lane cycle is officially complete. Up ahead, here's Kyle Dersham, who's trying to stop the bleeding right now, as he's lost a few positions, but here comes Dennis Crosby to come take advantage.
Big bend, and he gets it done. Phenomenal. Crosby has been on fire these last few laps. Saw him get by Kobe just a few laps ago, and now he has gotten to the pointy end of this little battle here.
Now, more defending needing to take place, as Kyle Dersham is definitely under attack right now. It looks like that's going to be Oliver Brooks, pilot of the AMG Mercedes, but a little bit of action between the trio as the Catalina snapshot car, and a big clip of the wall from the 333. Kobe Brooks getting real familiar with the concrete barrier, maybe more familiar than I think he'd like to be.
Yeah, Kobe shot that and got rim. I had to make a Kobe joke at some point. It was too easy.
You know, that took me longer than I'd like to admit to catch that. Couple of drivers into the pit. Mark Clark, excuse me, Mark Stewart, James Clark, Jesse Chase, Jason Holland, as I still have a smile on my face from the Kobe Bryant joke. Thank you very much. And that Mach 5 Speed Racer car getting its service on the jacks right now. And it looks like
I'm still keeping an eye on this battle, and let me tell you, Kyle Dersham almost got a lot closer to Dennis Crosby that time than he wanted to. I thought we were maybe going to have an incident there, but he just barely backed it down in time. As you see, these three, they have not left each other alone at all. It's been this way for the entire 30 minutes, basically.
And more importantly, I think that gap has actually come down from Clancy Garvin to Carl Ross. I think it was closer to 1 second than it was to half a second. And now Clancy Garvin definitely has an opportunity to get P2 in the category, which means that Javi Sierra has a chance to get back up into P2, as he's definitely played the patient waiting game tonight. João Baptista in the YouTube chat saying, Corey is very fast. That might unfortunately be the understatement of the year. He is lightning quick. He is the fastest driver I might have had the pleasure of talking about. He is phenomenal, and his consistency is more important than anything, as he has been just a consistent beast, as the 73
here we go.
Gets by the pit stop there of... That'll be Carl Ross coming through now. So let's see if the overcut or the undercut is the stronger.
Also, something I just noticed, I think Corey may have made a little mistake, because for most of the last few laps, it was about 5.5 seconds he had, but all of a sudden, right before Ross made his pit stop, it had come down to about 3.8, so it wasn't a huge mistake, but I definitely think Corey may have made a small misstep. As we're side by side, Javi and Garvin, and Javi's gonna get the pass done. Oh no, we got a car going around. It's James Clark. No, Speed Racer, no!
Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened there. James Clark in the number 5. Oh, and just a couple wheels off into the grass. And that will do it there for Speed Racer. A little too speedy. Javi Sierra sitting promptly behind Corey Jones by around 5 and a bit seconds. But he's got company up ahead. I'll have to check the battle box to see who that is. That'll be Mark Stewart up ahead by just 1 second. Will most likely yield out of the way, but as more traffic comes out of the lane, I feel like it's more and more important to get the pit stop out of the way, James.
Yeah, I think you've got to go now if you're these two. Like, look at the traffic you're in. Like, that's going to waste so much time, especially since, you know, Jones has clear track and Carl Ross, he's got 14 seconds back to the ahead to the next car. I mean, he's got plenty of clean track, so you've got to make this move now, especially with Stewart right there in front of you and taking all that dirty air off of the McLaren.
And it doesn't look like the McLaren is going to yield naturally. Yielded
well,
in an slightly unconventional way.
That's not how we drew it up, but we take those.
Yep. On, what did we say? On pace alone for Javi Sierra. On pace alone. As there goes Clancy Garvin into pit lane. And so this is going to be telling, right? We're going to have to see who comes out on top as the pit stops all pop off going into the final couple of runs. 24 minutes and 30 seconds under the clock. Go ahead, James.
So, obviously, not a normal staple of the Breaking Bad series. So, still with a few questions, including, do they normally take tires on the pit stops, or is it just straight fuel only like most GT3 leagues tend to?
I think it depends. I don't believe tires are mandatory in the Breaking Bad GT3 League. I could be wrong. I could be misspeaking. But I don't believe there is a requirement to take tires. So you'll see a variety of pit stop times for the drivers, ranging from anywhere as low as 17 seconds to as high as 29.2, 30 seconds for some drivers.
Yeah, so I think what Javi Sierra and Jones and others might be playing at is, and this is a similar strategy I employ myself when it comes to races like this, where you're really only worried about fuel and you're not taking tires. If you just run it dry, to me, I've always felt that that's a little more faster because you're doing more laps with lower tank, naturally making the car a little faster. And then when you do come in for your stop, you're well into the race and you're not having to take as much fuel on. So then you're also a little more faster because, again, less fuel you need to take, less weight, and able to have a little more pace. So that's always been my rule of thumb, and I imagine that's what they're doing as they are all in. Jones, Sierra, and Dersham.
It is a flurry of leaders in the pit lane, and we'll have to see who comes out on top. LaShawn Young Dilworth, the last of the non-pitters or the non-believers to come down the lane, and he'll do it here on this stop. Javi Sierra gained a ton of time on that launch.
Yeah.
Behind Corey Jones now, just 2 seconds, the delta. Very
interesting. I am curious on what the difference was between the two, and look at the time that Sierra's gained over everyone else. Like Garvin and Ross aren't even in the picture right now. So that fuel save that Javi must have been doing paid off in spades.
Well, yeah, look at the time in pits. 21 seconds there for Corey Jones, 16.8 seconds for Javi Sierra. One of the quickest stops out there. And Clancy Garvin with a 20.7 second pit stop. Carl Ross, 29.9 second pit stop. So a tremendous amount of time lost in the stall alone.
Ouch. That's a pit time that hurts your soul right there. It's a lot of time he's got to make up, and a whole lot of time left to do it. Only 20 minutes as we got a battle of the Mustangs here. Crosby and Perot.
And I'm sorry, I have to do this. We must check this out. It does say White Chorizo Racing on the front nose of that Ford Mustang. I just needed to verify that real quick. So WCR for Frank Perot, the team name is White Chorizo Racing. Good to know. As a little bit slidey coming out of the final corner, up onto the banking and down to the front straightaway. Frank Perot is pushing pretty hard right now. And on that previous lap was 126.29. Could have been best Dennis Crosby's 126.1 on that previous attempt. Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
What has happened here?
Wow. All of a sudden, things have flipped on their head. Just when you think that Corey Jones couldn't do any wrong, now he's got Javi Sierra all over the back of him. Boy, has this flipped.
It sure has. I mean, I gotta do this as well. Gotta see what Corey Jones's face looks like right now, because Javi Sierra is filling up the rear view mirror, coming down in towards turn one, late on the brakes for both drivers, and Corey Jones looks calm, cool, and collected, James.
Yeah, he's not even reacting. That is one heck of a poker face. And that's impressive because you know as well as I do, it's not easy to, keep your composure when you go from a massive advantage to, holy guacamole, what is he doing behind me? What is going on? And having to calm yourself down and first understand where your advantage went, and then understand how you keep what little you have now. It's not easy. That's where the difference between the true championship competitors and the hobbyists lie, is their mental game when it comes to stuff like this. Meanwhile, there might have been a little bit of beef on track. Kyle Dersham was not happy about something, and I saw a car in the gravel trap. I imagine those two things were quite related.
Mark Stewart, Oliver Brooks going toe-to-toe through the infield section. Looks like it goes the way of Oliver Brooks, back up into P9 for him, right where he started this event. But he's got Kobe Brooks up ahead, and it looks like I have never put this together. They must be related. Oh no!
Oh,
Kobe Brooks goes wide, deep, kisses a little bit of that grass that the kids are always talking about, and the triple three. Oh my goodness!
He airballed it. Now let's see if he can get it back. That's a tough loss of position. That's 2 spots lost in one corner. As we see Crosby and Dersham. Crosby's gonna get the move done. Oh, as Perot overcooked it just a little bit behind them.
Javier Sierra losing a little bit of ground to Corey Jones in the battle for the GT3 Masters. I do want to check in real quick with our GT3 Pro leader, Jamie MacArthur, but he's on a bit of an island by himself. About 3 and a bit seconds back from Carl Ross. But more importantly, he's got about 11 seconds to Philip Kelly, the number 77, the next driver in the category. And he's keeping Kyle Smith comfortably between himself and Kelly for now.
Yeah, it's some important cruise control when you just see, okay, I've got a massive lead behind. Just kind of take it easy. You know, this isn't necessarily a track that's dangerous to push at. There's a lot of open space, and some of these corners aren't the most difficult. But, you know, being able to have a little gap in your back pocket to just relax and make sure you don't force yourself into too many bad mistakes, that's just such a huge advantage, especially when we only have 15 minutes left in this race.
Again, my eyes wander away from the clock for just a second, and another 10 minutes goes by in the blink of an eye.
Oh, Dersham's gone off again. A lot of gravel kicked up by that 93. Not sure what happened. So we see Maduro making another pass. Up to P12, but you know that strategy for him doesn't look like it worked at all. Looks like it's actually gone worse, because he was sitting around the top 10 like P9 when he made that stop, but now he's fighting just to get back to P12.
Check back in with leader Corey Jones and Javier Sierra here. Coming down in towards turn 8 and 9. And 10 before getting jettisoned onto 11, 12, and 13. That's where the drivers really pick up the pace, down to the front straightaway and crossing the start-finish line.
Yeah, so far it's basically been like this since they got out of the pits. I'm surprised we haven't seen more attempts for Sierra to try to get by, but I imagine, you know, when you're already on the back of someone, oh no, oh my goodness, we almost had a huge accident. Exit of turn 4, oh my goodness. Oh, Mach 5 Speed Racer went around again. Didn't quite hold his brakes, and Marshall Darden almost cleaned him out at full speed. Oh my goodness, that was nearly an awful accident, but we survive and stay clean for now. See, James, same spot he went around earlier, just looped it. And then you're going to see he rolls around and he keeps rolling, and my goodness, Marshall having to go on the grass. And did that rip off the wing? I think that ripped off the wing.
It did.
Look at that. He ain't got no wing on it. Oh, and he just wrecked it in the final quarter because of it. No downforce on that Corvette. And, oh, and he toes. Oof, thank goodness for that, because I think the leaders were on the verge of making their way. Yep, they were. So that would have been a terrifying sight for our lead duo. But, yeah, that is unfortunate and likely the end of the night for James Clark there. No Speed Racer, no Indeed.
Here on screen, we have Kyle Dersham chasing down Jason Holland. About a half second back, but it might be to no avail for Dersham. as he's got Maduro to contend with way up the road. So we'll check back in with Corey Jones and Javier Sierra, and it has been a start to finish lead for Corey Jones. Including the pit stop, he still led during, before, and after the pit stop cycle.
Yeah, and he's hoping to hold on to that lead. Just has to survive another 11 minutes here.
And Corey Jones definitely knows what it's like to be under pressure, and he's most likely gonna perform flawlessly. You know, he was definitely my pick for driver of the day. If you have your pick so far, who would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, earlier on, I think I probably would have gone with Maduro since he had driven up to a phenomenal P9, but he has lost a little bit since the stops. But, you know, that's still such an impressive, if to make up 12 spots from P last, it's still a impressive performance regardless. But yeah, it's hard to go against a guy who's literally dominated the entire event when you're going to driver of the day.
Well, it's definitely not over and done with yet. Javier Sierra in the final 10 minutes can definitely throw a little bit of caution to the wind as he pushes behind Corey Jones. But here on screen, we have Jesse Chase and Marshall Darden going wheel to wheel as Chase tries to shake off the slipstream from behind from the marble of Darden.
And goes a little wide. This might give Darden what he needs. I wasn't quite able to take advantage of it, but look at the speed. Oh, he's sending it now, and he's gonna get it done. Great move. Phenomenal overtake from Darden right there.
Great overtake from Marshall Darden through the first of the infield sections. It was a challenge to get past Jesse Chase, but he was able to finally get it done going into the final few minutes. That's going to promote him up into the 5th spot for the category.
Now, all of a sudden, the lead gap has ballooned. It's now almost 1.3. All of a sudden, Javier Sierra is nowhere as close as he had been. And, you know, part of me is kind of wondering, because, yeah, it's such a faster pit stop to the point where it just left us flabbergasted. I'm wondering if he heavily cut down how much fuel he took, you know, maybe trying to get close to Jones and maybe try to fuel save off of him for the rest of it. And maybe that's why he's starting to fall back, because it's hard to have a 5-second faster pit stop in a race like this with no tires without doing something risky like that.
Battle on screen is between Jack Clark and Kyle Dersham. 97 and the 93 trying to settle this once and for all as we approach the final 5 of this race. Frank Perot has a slowdown penalty. Des Crosby is all over the rear end of Kobe Brooks, no longer, as Crosby is through and now is unleashed to try to catch up to Mark Stewart in P3. But sitting at a 3-second gap, he'd pretty much have to be a second a lap quicker than the car ahead to make that one work.
Yeah, just not close enough at the moment. Yeah, meanwhile, the lead gap is now 2 seconds almost. So Jones has definitely hit the afterburner at the very least.
Jamie MacArthur, our pro leader, sitting pretty with a 13-second gap right now to Philip Kelly. Got to feel pretty confident about that. The Maxim driver, the number 75, might currently be in 5th place, but it'll be P1 overall for the pro category. If things end up finishing out where they stand. Looking at Oliver Brooks, the technically gifted number 31, has been fighting with the likes of Mark Stewart for quite some time, and even one point had Kobe Brooks with him as well. Now able to pull out all the stops and clear out the gaps, but up ahead, the marble car of Philip Kelly dukes it out with Kyle Smith behind the number 35. Again, this unleashes his pace. Try to catch up Jamie MacArthur. I think it might be a little too late.
Yeah, he's going to have to put up almost track record laps to be able to run down 14 plus seconds if there isn't a serious mistake. But he's not done with this move just yet. Smith trying to battle back, but can't do it.
Looking back here, Mark Stewart still trails Oliver Brooks by around 0.7 of a second, but they're not in the same category, so this battle is quieted down. We'll check in with Jeffrey Strong and Nicholas Paul. Drivers running in 20th and 21st, 7th and 8th for their category. Or excuse me, 6th and 7th for their category. And that is one striking livery on the 64, I must say.
No kidding. That just pops. And I can't imagine how good it must look like under the lights at Daytona. Like, that is chef's kiss. And, like, look at all the lines and the intricacies and the designs and the teal parts. Like, I don't even want to know how much time that took to make. Is the almost rubbed some of that paint off on Jeffrey Strong there right in front of him as they were going through the final chicane.
As we're well into the final 5, looks pretty quiet here on the Western Front for the Lights Out GT3 Weekend Showdown. Corey Jones and Javi Sierra's battle has settled down to be around 2.6 seconds. Philip Kelly and Jamie MacArthur are separated by around 14.5 seconds, but Kelly has Kyle Smith to keep him warm and toasty at night underneath the blankets. Oliver Brooks leads the Pro-Am category in the number 31 and really hasn't had to look back since his bout with Kobe Brooks earlier on in the race.
He was able to pull away. It's basically been smooth sailing, and it's been smooth sailing for a lot of cars. We've only had one retirement. That's Ryan Thompson. Even James Clark with his mishap was able to tow and get fast repair and get back out on track. And in fact, there he is right there in picture.
'54 of Corey Jones catching up to this battle here with Nicholas Paul and Jeffrey Strong. So they'll have to settle this one down as they deal with the blue flag from the race leader. Unless for Javier Sierra's sake, they can slow him down. Off goes the 64
Lord.
And deep goes the Red Bull Racing of Nicholas Paul and Jeffrey Strong. But Strong is through as he made that mistake less as bad as 64.
Yeah. Oh, but God, that had to be the most terrifying thing if you're Corey Jones, you're like, no, no, no. Oh, speaking of no, no, Philip Kelly has gone around in the final quarter. Not sure what happened to the Marlboro Mustang, but that's cost him quite a few spots.
Sure did. Philip Kelly even sits behind Mark Stewart now. We'll have to see if Philip Kelly has any significant damage here. Doesn't look too bad for the Marlboro Mustang. Maybe it's all internal damage, as Marlboros typically do cause internal damage. Not sure if I needed to spell that one out there for you. I was just gonna let that one slide. Brian Thompson said nothing bad even happened to me. I was just bored to tears.
You know, I can't say that is a feeling that I don't relate to. And whenever I drive this layout, I feel you on that one.
Almost going into the back is Dennis Crosby to Philip Kelly, the Wounded Winged Mustang, the number 77. But with 15 seconds left to go on the clock, I think it is going to go the way to Corey Jones on this final lap. Barney is waving the white flag for us as part of confirmation. Here comes Corey Jones now.
What a performance. Absolute domination. Even when he had Sierra breathing down his neck, just didn't falter. No fold.
Corey Jones comes around the final corner for the final time here for the Lights Out Breaking Bad GT3 weekend. And it's going to take the top step of the podium. Javi Sierra is going to bring home P2 and Clancy Garvin in third. Carl Ross in fourth place. Jamie MacArthur in first place for the GT3 Pro category there.
Heck of a finish between Garvin and Ross right there. Just 2/10 separating those two, and it sounded like Carl Ross took front tires. I think, if I'm hearing what he's saying correctly. So that would explain a lot of why his stop was so much longer. Meanwhile, Jamie MacArthur brings home the Pro Class win, and Ollie Brooks is going to get himself the Pro-Am win. Oh my lord! Oh my lord! Oh no!
I'll have to blur that out. I'll have to blur that out. Here comes
That's
Kobe Brooks in second place for his category win, and that'll round things out for us. We'll get the results here in just a few moments, and we'll have James walk us through the GT3 category for the Masters.
Yes, sir. Your winner and overall winner is Corey Jones in that 54 car with the 979 of Javi Sierra and the 73 of Clancy Garvin joining him on the podium, and the overall podium with Carl Ross and Kyle Smith 4th and 5th in class.
For the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits Pro category, it was Jamie MacArthur who took the win. Mark Stewart in second, Dennis Crosby in third. Phil Kelly in fourth, Keon Maduro climbed through the ranks into fifth, Jack Clark in sixth, Kyle Dersham in seventh, LaShawn Young Dilworth in eighth, and James Clark in ninth.
And then in the Pro-Ams, we got a Brooks 1-2. Ollie Brooks over Kobe Brooks with Frank Perot joining them on the podium. Jason Holland and Jesse Chase rounding out the top 5. Jeffrey Strong, Marshall Darden, Nicholas Paul, James Gilpin, and Ryan Thompson rounding out the field in the Pro-Ams.
Great drives from everybody tonight, but some were just a little bit more pitch perfect than others, James. It seems like some drivers just had that extra bit of confidence through the infield section, with the confidence of going wheel to wheel and side by side with their fellow drivers in the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits series. But just some drivers perhaps being a little bit more conservative and being mistake free, though. Nonetheless, we saw very few mistakes throughout the field tonight, especially when it came down to the race start. We expected to see some drama as we went four abreast coming down the front stretch, but yellow flag never waved.
No, there were hardly any incidents that entire race. Saw a couple, but for a 60-minute race in GT3s, that is incredible when you only have that few of incidents, especially at a track like Indianapolis that promotes dive bombs and not quite well thought out maneuvers.
Apologies for just 1 second, seeing if anybody wants to come down for an interview. We're looking for Corey Jones, Jamie MacArthur, and Oliver Brooks tonight. Getting them all ready to go, getting them a few minutes to cool down as well. It looks like we do have Corey Jones, and we'll let James Watson talk to our race winner tonight. Corey Jones, we've dragged you into the broadcast booth, sir. How does it feel? You got James Watson with you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh, we're doing good, but not as good as you. Take us through it. That was a dominant performance out there. Led every lap from pole and bringing home the overall dub.
Yeah, the track temp was definitely on the hotter side than I was expecting. And when I determined that, I was going to shoot for 4 tyres in the pit stop. I thought the buffer that I got in the first stint would have given me a bit more of a cushion. Turns out not. um, so yeah, it was good. I don't know what happened to Carl. I don't know what happened with him, but if he didn't have an issue or anything like that, I feel like he probably would have been in front of me, and it would have been a bit more of a stressful finish there. But yeah, towards the end, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, so that's what the difference was. You took tires. We were trying to figure out the difference in pit stop time from you and Javi out there.
Mm. Yeah, I was going to choose just left-hand tires because they get punished around here. But then towards the end of the stint, I was just thinking like 27 laps on some tires on a track this hot was going to be a punish towards the end on the right side. So I just thought I had a bit of a cushion, and I'd play it safe, and just go for the 4, just so I had the comfortability at the end there that I had the tires ready to go for me.
Yeah, and it obviously worked out phenomenally because he kept it close to you, but you didn't panic, you weren't stressed about it, and when the tires did finally come in and got up to temp, yeah, it didn't look like he was able to stick with you there.
Yeah, it might have looked like I was calm, but definitely on the inside, I was definitely not calm. I was not expecting him to be that close, but I just knew it's a very hard track to pass. If I just hit my braking markers and everything like that, I would have had a good chance. I had the tyre life, I felt like, over the top of him, so I just breathed and came home with the win, which was good.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because we had actually showed your camera during the battle, and we were commentating on how calm you look. So it's funny to hear that it was the opposite. You've got one heck of a poker face, sir.
Yeah, gotta let them know that. Yeah, gotta stay calm. If you're all rational and make silly mistakes, that's when yeah, accidents happen. And yeah, we probably would have been on the bad end of the stick. But yeah, I kept it nice and clean, which was good. I was surprised that he didn't go for the move into turn one. I feel like if he went for the turn one move on, I think the second lap when he was right behind me, I feel like it would have been very hard to pass him again. So I think it might have been an opportunity missed, but that's just racing, unfortunately. And yeah.
Yeah, twist your arm about that, but yeah, incredible run out here tonight. Any sponsors, plugs, and shout outs you'd like to give before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Get Good once again. Another good showing. I think this is my third in a row now. So yeah, it's been a good form of run here. And yeah, we did really well last week at Nürburgring 24 in the GT4. Got a podium. So yeah, coming off a high of that and league win. It was very nice.
Well, good to see you continue this good run of form, and hopefully we're talking to you again next week.
Awesome. Thanks, boys.
All right, there's your overall winner, Corey Jones, and it doesn't look like we have any of the other class winners here waiting for interview.
I did see Oliver Brooks waiting just a moment ago, and Jamie MacArthur just messaged us saying that he'll be here. So we'll stall for just a few more moments longer as we wait for them. But Jamie MacArthur, no slouch in their own right. Currently, well, they started in fifth, ended up the race in fifth, but importantly, they ended up winning the class there. Jamie MacArthur drove a pretty pitch perfect and flawless race. The number 75 for Maxim Racing. You know, what do we have to say about him? Because we didn't say much about him during the race, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's not the worst thing ever as a driver. You kind of hope and pray for those runs where you're just, so far out in front of your competition that there's no real need to talk about you because everyone knows you're just there up high and you're just doing your thing. Like you pray to have a race that dominant. So not always the greatest for the sponsors, but it's like, yeah, but it's still a race win. So you can't argue with that airtime.
Also, you have to give a little bit of saving grace to the lack of getting called out by the commentators. It means you're doing nothing wrong, which is great news, and also that you're not getting commentators cursed at the same time. So we stayed away from Jamie for a very good reason, but the Canadian driver did a flawless job of bringing it home out in P1. Didn't have LaShawn Young Dilworth to contend with tonight. That driver could have definitely shaken things up. And here's Jamie MacArthur. I see him now. And Jamie MacArthur, pilot of the 75, had a pretty good race tonight and a pretty quiet one, especially without Jed Cotterman being here or LaShawn Young Dilworth to contend with. How did it feel to be on the top step of the podium tonight?
I felt pretty good. The Porsche was pretty good, pretty consistent. When the track started heating up, started losing the front, so I just adjusted some brake bias and tried to keep it under control. But yeah, sure missed Jet out there and them other guys. It's always better to race with them guys. It just ups up the level.
Absolutely. It elevates the quality of the racing as well. We do miss Jed out on the racetrack because he usually puts up a pretty good fight, and unfortunately for him, he usually has to put up a recovery drive as something just goes wrong for him in the early stages of these races, but not for the last time we ran, as he was out on the podium and the top step. Now, he wanted the overall podium as well, but it didn't go his way. But Jamie MacArthur, tonight, you were just outside the podium yourself. Were you looking for an overall podium tonight?
Yeah, I was the start of the race there. It looked like it. I was just pacing the guys in the front and trying not to make any mistakes and hoping they would start racing hard and just, you know, but they raced a pretty clean race and didn't really, they just kind of stayed in line. There was a few moments there where I thought they were going to get side by side a few times, but it didn't work out.
It was a very clean race for the front quattro, and they stayed single file line for the majority of it. A little bit more argy-bargy, elbows out racing, and it could definitely have gone your way, Jamie. Anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank on the win tonight?
I'd like to thank Jed for putting on this great series on Saturday night. You guys coming out, it's a late night for everybody, and the girlfriend for doing the design on the car and just supporting what I do here. So it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. And as someone who has Maxim Motorsport on their car, do you want to give them a shout out, as they are our title sponsor for the evening, and potentially give Maxim a little shout out?
Actually, that's me. I own Maxim Motorsport, so
I figured you're the guy to ask.
yeah. So I'll give myself a big shout out.
Right on. Thank you very much, Jamie MacArthur, and thank you very much for your support of the Breaking Bad GT3 League as your title sponsorship.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too, Jamie. And that looks like that will wrap things up for us, James. But thank you so much to Jamie MacArthur and his title sponsorship for Maxim Motorsports. Again, for all of your engine building, tuning, dyno services, on-track support, and driver coaching, always look no further than Maxim Motorsports, and reach out to Jamie MacArthur if you're in need of anything. But James, that's going to wrap things up for us tonight, and thank you very much. I've almost forgot to Jed Cotterman Racing's team, Cotterman Racing, for their sponsorship of tonight's race. But James, what's your big takeaway as you step into the foot of, some pretty big giants? Steven Kernick, Alex Goldschmidt have been broadcasting this league. What's your flavor of the Breaking Bad GT3 League?
Yeah, I haven't worked with Alex, so I can't speak on that, but having worked with Steven already a few times in about a month I've been here at Racer Nexus, I know how much of a professional and how incredible Steven is. So it was big shoes to fill. So hopefully I was able to go out and do them proud and do everyone listening and watching at home proud as I fumbled my way through this fill-in role.
Well, thank you very much for taking on the challenge tonight. Joining me in the broadcast booth tonight has been Mr. James Watson. All the tracks tonight have been brought to you by TrackCams 22. On the production and comms has been Sagar Bakshi. I appreciate everybody for joining. I appreciate everybody for staying tuned. This has been a Racers Nexus broadcast, and this has been a Breaking Bad Pushing Limits series, week 8 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Only a few more left to go here, and it's bound to be a showstopper of a season finale. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are as well. On behalf of Racer Nexus, on behalf of James Watson, have a great night, everybody. And most importantly, Make sure you stay safe out there. Goodbye for now.